y'all doing? Welcome back to Fruit of the Vine. I'm Shomari Self-Food. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button so you can keep up with what we got going on over here. Today's episode is a good, very, very interesting one. Today's episode is based on the silent twins and their unusual bond. And we're going to get right into it right now, so scoot up. June and Jennifer Gibbons, born April 11, 1963 in the UK, portrayed odd behavior from an early age. They were not like other childhood twins that would be seen bouncing around, displaying the same interests while being, vocal, finishing each other's sentences, like other twins would do. In fact, they were totally the opposite. They didn't speak to anyone, nor did they care to play with any other kids in the community but themselves. They only spoke to themselves in their own made-up language. Very interesting. Although, twins adopt each other's behavior, these girls took it to a whole nother level. They would purposely walk in military formation, like leading with the same leg. It was like really seeing double, literally. And they would keep the same constant speed, just totally marking each other. Now, this intense mirror behavior would extend down to their eating, in which they would only chew in unison as they ate. They would even take their breaths at the same time, breathing in the same formation, just totally and utterly intensifying the normal twin behavior. And it gets deeper than that. They were military kids of a military family, so they relocated the family to a place called Devon, where the girls would get picked on a lot for being black, of course, in these days and times, and thus far. This racism would only make the twins withdraw further from society and into each other. Even though they were gifted with their books and their writings, the constant teasing and mistreatment for having darker skin would make them both become quiet, withdraw even more, and just quit school altogether. Well, before they did, in 1976, they were getting vaccine shots at the school that they were attending, and the other kids were crying and sobbing from these shots, the scared of needles, apparently. But as the twins were getting their vaccine shots, one of the psychiatrists in the facility noticed that their blank face was just, at the moment, mesmerizing to them, because all the other kids were sobbing and crying from this infliction of pain, but these twins didn't flinch, nor did they flicker towards this. So it immediately spiked the interest of the psychiatrist. In 1977, the doctors thought that if they split the twins up, it would maybe make them open up more. But when one of the twins left, the other would act as if they were paralyzed. Literally paralyzed. Soon as the other twin was detached from the room, the other would act as if paralyzed, not talking, nor did they talk to anyone else anyway, but not even moving, and frozen in bed in a paralyzed state. It was clear that they had a very, very unusual connection. But although they were wrapped into each other so intensely, they also had personal diaries that they wrote and they kept to themselves. June's entry, she wrote, "Can't I get rid of my own shadow? Without my shadow, would I live or would I die?" She wanted to know how it would feel if her sister would die. Would it free her, or would this make her cease to live or feel any existence within herself? In 1981, the twins went on a 5-week crime spree. From theft to vandalism to arson on a college. With these crimes, after the girls were apprehended, being in court, ultimately they figured out that the girls really had some type of issue. So this led them to a mental asylum where they were ultimately extended stay. But after so long of being in the asylum, the girls still had that same niche and feeling of each other. Even though that they were inseparable to seem on the outside, they still had that same inside feeling of being apart, wanting to be apart, but afraid to detach from each other. So after 10 years being in this asylum, Jennifer one day ultimately, secretly amongst them, chose to be the sacrificial lamb. between the two. So, unknowing of why Jennifer started getting so ill and started descending so rapidly, when the doctors could detect any type of previous illness, and trying to transfer her to another facility, amongst that ride with her sister, she died in her sister's lap. Now, this blows everybody's mind because before the pact was made, there was no pre-existing medical condition. But from talking to June, they figured out about the pact. They learned about the pact, and that led them to put the time together and formulating that the girl may have mentally shut off everything to go along with the pact, and shows just how powerful the mind is. That she killed herself from within and ultimately detached the bond. These are the silent twins, June and Jennifer. Look them up. It also brings me to the end of, please, if you have anybody, any friends, any family, anybody in your home, your school, that you just know, period, that seems a little off or, eccentric. It may be illness, a mental illness that they're battling, that they probably need to get diagnosed. A lot of people are getting in trouble and getting through straight in jail. And 80% of these people suffer from mental problems, especially the recycling criminals. Not to give anybody a break, but a lot of what you would call troublemakers and outcasts are really suffering from mental issues. So think about it. And if you know somebody that's like that, try to reach out and let them know that you understand, and try to get them some help, man, because you ultimately might just be saving them from something traumatic. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe. I can't wait to give y'all some more juice on the next show. It's your boy, Shomari, Fruit of the Vine.